Hello and welcome to Froch on Fighting. I'm Carl Froch. Used to be called the Cobra, a former unified super middleweight world champion and an international boxing Hall of Famer. You know the rest. Anyway, I've just finished a Froch along for the 5v5 Queensberry versus Matchroom. Zhang has just ironed out Deontay Wilder. We'll talk about that in a minute, but for now, this episode is brought to you by Cobra Casino. So it was an absolute clean sweep for Bricktop. Absolutely knocked the syrup off Eddie Hearn. 10-0 on points. All 5 of his fighters have won. But the big upset for me, and it's probably not an upset because we might have seen it coming, but the big news is Deontay Wilder now has to be finished. He got absolutely flattened by Zhang. And I think that's going to have to be the end of his career. I don't think he's announced that he's retiring, but I think he'll reflect on it. He'll look back and say, listen, he's no longer a menace in the heavyweight division. He can't really compete. He lost to Joseph Parker. Now he's been knocked out by Zhang, and that was quite a bad knockout. He got stretchered in there. He looked a shadow of his former self. That dangerous right hand that he's usually got, that big right hand that you're waiting for him to detonate, you're waiting for him to land. When he did throw it, it didn't look menacing. When it landed, it didn't really have a big effect. I know Zhang's tough and he can take the punch. He's a big, strong lump, but we expect more from Deontay Wilder. We feel like we're on the edge of our seat when Deontay Wilder fights. So I think what we should do now is we should just look back on his career and celebrate his career. Them 3 fights with Tyson Fury, 1 draw, 2 losses. You give Tyson Fury a hell of a tough night's work 3 times. And look at the fighters that he's knocked out. I think he was he 38 and 38 wins, 38 knockouts. He knocked everybody out. He was such a devastating puncher with that right hand. The Bronze Bomber, when he was fighting, we got excited. And now, when you watch him fight, when you watch him in the ring, you can see that he's just an empty shell. He's not got that big punching power. They say that the power was the last thing to go, but he didn't really look like he had any kind of dangerous power in there tonight against Zhang. I don't want to beat him down too much. I don't want to tell anybody to retire, but I think the general consensus is, I think anybody with a brain really that's any kind of compassion for a fighter needs to be saying, look, Deontay Wilder has to now hang the gloves up. He has to retire. This is the end of him. But he's had a great career. There's going to be people saying that he's been exposed. Who's he beat? Who's his best win? I've seen it tonight on the Froch Along on my live stream. People have gone through and said, well, who's his best win? I mean, who's he beat? What's he going to be remembered for? But I remember Deontay Wilder for being a devastating puncher, a real exciting fighter, and somebody who, you know, if he lands on the chin of any of his opponents, I'm talking about the old Deontay Wilder, then he's going to knock them spark out, because that's the kind of power that he carried. It would have been nice to see him fight somebody like Anthony Joshua. It would have been great to see him in there with someone like Daniel Dubois, who did well tonight against Hrgovic. But he's had his time, he's had his day, and his days are now finished. So I just want to look back on Deontay Wilder's career and say he was a real menace in there, real menacing, heavy punching heavyweight. But now, after that loss to Zhang this evening on the Queensberry v Matchroom, the Bricktop v Hearn, this is the end of it, the end of the road for Deontay Wilder. It has to be curtains on his career. But fair play to you, mate. You came, you tried, but that has to be the end. So I've got to mention Zhang. Listen, has he got much of a future? He's an old boy, what is he, 41, 42 years old. He's a big lump. We know he runs out of steam after 5, 6 rounds, but he's good to watch, big and solid and strong. He can punch hard. Realistically, has he got long left in his career? Is he going to go anywhere? I'd probably like to see him fight Anthony Joshua. Maybe that's not a bad fight. I think AJ probably takes him into the later rounds and then beats him and gets the stoppage. Maybe it's a good fight for Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois did really well tonight against Hrgovic. Daniel Dubois, young, mid-20s, big heavyweight. All right, he's got that loss to Usyk, but he's still got that Usyk experience, hasn't he, in the tank? And he's got a bright future ahead of him. Daniel Dubois could actually be the future of the heavyweight division if he carries on doing what he's doing. He's young enough to certainly have the longevity and go into the next generation of heavyweights. So Dubois against Zhang, that's actually quite an interesting fight. That's one I probably would like to see. And who wins that? I think Dubois, fit, strong, hungry, but if Zhang catches him on the chin, that big bang, anything could happen. So I want to give a big shout out to Nick Ball. We have a new world champion, featherweight world champion. We lost 2 last week, didn't we? A couple of weeks ago, we lost Tyson Fury, we lost Joe Cordina, but now we've got Britain now has a new world champion. It was a great win tonight for Nick Ball, featherweight world champion. Fair play to him. Another brick top fighter. It's a clean sweep tonight, but yeah, I think that justice has been served because last time out he got the draw. I think he deserved the win, but tonight he was crowned world champion. Well done, Nick. Also need to mention Hamza Sheeraz and Willie Hutchinson, 2 great wins for them as well. I mean, Hamza Sheeraz, I think he's probably the best prospect now coming out of Britain, and he has got a great future ahead of him. Nice style, nice clean boxer, and he can punch a little bit as well. Exciting future. So that's it for another episode of Froch on Fighting. It's just a quick summary, a live response, still going at over 2 in the morning, early hours of Sunday morning. That's what we're doing on Froch on Fighting. We give you the live updates. Can I just say before I wrap, I don't care what anybody says. People come back and forth and people are stroking egos and agreeing with people when they say, oh, the atmosphere is good, the atmosphere is okay. The atmosphere tonight in Saudi Arabia was fucking shocking. That's all there is to say about it. Nobody was interested. And there were some good fights on there tonight. There were some good heavyweight fights. You know, Nick Ball became world champion. Hamza Sheeraz put the performance in. It was a good show, and people are sitting ringside on the phones. They're not animated, so hopefully that's closed the argument as to whether or not there's atmosphere in Saudi Arabia. I don't want to keep banging on about it, but don't tell me that the atmosphere is like it is in Britain, like the O2 Arena, the Nottingham Arena, Wembley Stadium. You can't beat the British crowd, the British fans, the hardcore, salt of the earth British boxing fans that get behind the fighters, the passion, they're just... There's no more words. But anyway, that's my rant. This has been another episode of Froch on Fighting. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.